John Herdman is the coach of the men's national soccer team here in Canada, which still sounds a little bit odd, but we'll get used to it in time. John joins us now. It's been a challenging week for the CSA, John. Obviously, this being announced many weeks before they'd hoped to announce it. But for you personally, given how close you are to your players, how hard has it been for you this week?
Look, it's been, I'm not going to lie, it's been a tough week, a really tough week. You know, just the relationships you've built up with people over a period of time, and, you know, you never anticipated that you'd be telling people with that sort of short notice that you're going to be changing jobs. I think for many of the players, they were in shock. To some degree, I'm still in shock. It's, you know, the news is sinking in for me for the first time when you're speaking to every player and, you know, you're apologising in some ways and you're thanking them in others. And, you know, this week I've never felt as alive as I have in 4 years, and maybe that's telling you a little bit about why I needed a change. It's, you know, these moments sort of bring you back to reality and make you realise, you know, the type of relationships you've had and how important they are in life. So, yeah, it's been a sad week, and you know, many ways bittersweet. I mean, I was hoping to be very excited about this, and inside I am, but it's at the same time just feeling like I'm mourning my own loss of something.
How did that conversation with Christine go? I can only imagine it was emotional, but how did you break the news to her?
Yeah, it was tough with Sing. I mean, look, we've had an unbelievable relationship, you know, that's sort of transcended the football field. So, you know, myself and Sink, I know she trusts us. She trusts us with a lot of things, and, you know, it was tough. I mean, we both were upset. We both, you know, had some tears. But Christine was outstanding. She said, "You know what, John? I knew you were destined to move at some point, and you've left this team and this system in a better place. And I just want to thank you for everything you've done for me." And you know, it was the same way back to her. I mean, she was one of the reasons I came to this country to work with genuinely one of the best players on the planet. And yeah, I mean, I think how we left it, James, was she knows that I will always be part of her life and vice versa. And, you know, whether I'm coaching this team, another team, you know, I'll always be there for Christine and her for me, which she has been throughout this 6-7 year period. So, you know, we're in a good space. I'll be connecting with Christine face to face pretty soon and just having a chat about some things. And yeah.
Well, let's rewind. There's so many layers to this thing at the moment. It was last June, I think, when you said that by 2020, after the Olympics and the World Cup, that'd be a good time for you to move on and transition somewhere else. But then something happened between then and now to expedite that process. Now, you're a switched-on guy, John. You must have heard that there were perhaps issues between Octavio Zambrano and the brass at the CSA. At what point did you realise that maybe you could become the Canada men's national team coach sooner than later?
Well, I think it goes deeper than that. I mean, I was hired by Canada Soccer back in 2011 to come and fix a broken system and a broken team. You know, I stood in Schiphol Airport pretty emotional when our team, you know, hit the 4th place ranking. And at that point, you know, there was a different feeling for me. You know, we just hit 4th in the world. We'd back-to-back podiumed. We'd fixed the system. You know, our team were moving in a new direction for sure. And you come back to it, you think it's like post-Olympic blues, but the reality was, you know, something inside of us was saying that, you know, we've done it here. John, you've done something here. And I remember sitting with Desi and Sink, and we talked about what's next, and it was putting the star on the shirt and pushing this to #1. And, you know, I was motivated every time I got in with my team. But, you know, there is a reality there. You know, as a coach, there's sometimes, you know, as a leader, when it's time to leave. And, you know, there've been a lot of opportunities, James, over this last 5 years, you know, lots of opportunities. And I knew I was always going to look at something at some stage in my career when I felt this whole thing had been put down better than I found it. And there's been some aha moments, regardless of opportunities on the men's side. There's been some aha moments where you're looking at this team now and going, I think it's time. It needs a breath of fresh air. It needs something different. I've been saying similar things now for 7 years, with this group. And I think a big part of a change process with this team is, me not being there provides them with that opportunity to get that extra 10% out of themselves, the leaders, to step forward and, not rely on me in certain situations. I mean, I'm very clear that it felt right, absolutely right. And these are the conversations I've had with, Christine and some of the, the senior veterans that know what this is about and know me. So, when you look at the other opportunities, I've always been interested at some point in moving on, and 2020 seemed the natural point. When things are expedited and opportunities come, you look at it. I mean, I could be going overseas, but I didn't. I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in this country. I know this country. I know the international stage. That's what I'm passionate about. And, opportunity came. I looked at it very hard and said, look, I want to build a system here. I want to try and connect our men's and women's programs, allow it to be more symbiotic, be smarter with how we operate, not in silos, to bring this system forward, like we have on the women's side, to bring some of those principles across. And on the men's side, to bring that genuine international experience. That's what I'm excited about. I'm not taking a job on a men's side because it's more prestigious or anything like that. It's because I'm an international coach. That's what I do best. That's where I've worked my craft. I'm excited to get involved with international high-performing players. That's the most important part about this. It's a new challenge, but in a country I love, a country I'm privileged to be part of, and in a system now where you may be able to do something that could change the game forever. And, I believe that with my experiences, I can give that a good go.
John, were you surprised, though? I mean, having watched the Gold Cup, the Men's Gold Cup last year, we watched what we thought was a men's team progressing. There was that word hope was being used for the first time in some time now. The CSA as yet haven't really divulged what went wrong with Octavia Zambrana behind the scenes. I know you can't divulge to us what that may not have been, but were you surprised the job became open this soon?
Yeah, I think everyone was surprised. I think that's the reality. There's a huge surprise factor around this, but Canada Soccer are doing their due diligence. They're working with staff members, and they have to do what's right for the game in their minds. I mean, they go through process to make sure that the right decisions are being made for our game. And, the Gold Cup, I haven't watched it myself. I sat as a fan with my 13-year-old son watching the game, watching Alphonso Davies appear and do what he did, which was remarkable. And it gives you a sense of the player group. The game's in good hands. There's something about building a system here, a system from top to bottom to make sure we can get consistency, that there won't be one-off situations. And I think, again, from an opportunity perspective, that's what's most exciting about this. You can see the game is about to move forward, and it's critical we move it forward in the right direction.
I mean, you're head coach, obviously, and you're also, as you allude to, the director of the Excel program as well. Are they two very different jobs, or are they unified together at one?
Yeah, they're unified together at one. I mean, it's the systemic that the bottom will feed the top, and it's that simple. It's the alignment we've been able to create on the women's side, that having a head coach that's hands-on in the system, but more importantly, he's had the experience of building international programs in that talent space, and then aligning it through regional systems so we can find talent, we can develop, we can even accelerate it as and when required. I mean, I think the key to all of this is, that's the exciting piece, that I've built that track record in that space. That understanding of this Canadian landscape. This isn't a guy coming in brand new, trying to figure out what this country is. I've started to figure out what works, what doesn't work. But more importantly, we're still ready to unearth the best practice in world football. We're still ready to go into this new era of a CPL and a new era of potentially new directions in talent development with new FIFA competitions that will be announced in the future. And that's, for me, the most exciting part of this. This isn't a transfer of what's been done here to there. It's about a leadership approach. It's about a systems approach. It's about understanding the most important features of a high-performance program and culture and system, and transferring those principles, not necessarily cutting and pasting. And I know going through what we did on the women's side and what we did in New Zealand in my previous role, where I was out in the world looking at world's best practice for men's and women's talent systems. It's a process of leadership and clarity of the steps that we have to take that I think is going to be critical to the success. So we will be listening to the game, but we will be driving that through with the best practice that we're aware of to shore this system up and to make sure it's consistency. One, we can start qualifying for hexes and World Cups consistently. They're not one-offs. And two, that we have more pro football players pushing through our system at those tier one levels more consistently. And how we align the landscape, which is what my role will be different to any other country in the world, and will be different in some ways to the women's, but the philosophies and principles will be very similar. As
Excel Director, how is that different to Jason DeVos's role right now as Director of Development?
Well, I think, when you look at Jason's role, Jason looks at what I would call the talent perform pathway. He looks at the layers underneath the Talent Excel. Talent Excel is about high performance players, people who can provide high performance environments for players who have a genuine desire to do what it takes to be the best they can be. Sitting alongside that, it's then they have the talent. And what Jason's role in the country, which he's doing a fantastic job of listening to people and understanding that landscape, will be to align talent perform and talent excel. So we don't have gaps in the system. We don't have a grassroots program and a high-performance league and regions that don't relate to our Excel program and system. They work symbiotically. And that's what we're trying to achieve with, this consideration of an Excel program, that it is very clear what it is meant to be. It is to produce talented players that can go on and represent Canada, to qualify Canada for World Cups, which means they're going to have to play at a good standard, and they'll be housed in key areas that will be developing them to produce those type of performances we need that will change our country forever when we qualify.
Now, it took you a number of years, obviously, to get the system in place with the women, and it worked. Obviously, you got the bronze in London. That was probably sooner maybe than you thought it would happen. For Canada, obviously, 2026, there may be games here. We're hoping there will be when that's announced. Before then, though, there's a World Cup in Qatar. As a head coach, you're dealing with the players you have right now, the squad you have right now. Where is this team right now, and do you think they can qualify for a World Cup in 2022?
Look, this is an exciting group of players, and the minute I get in front of that group, we're gonna craft a very clear vision about what this is about and what we can do for this country if and when we qualify, and have a very clear meaning about what we are going to do in this country. And I think that in itself, James, it's that sort of clarity that I want to bring to this team. A high-performing culture, a high-performing team with such a clear vision that we can change football in this country forever by our actions. And we've done it on the women's side. We've had some historic moments, some amazing moments that some kids in this country, male and female, will never forget. That's what we have the opportunity to do on the men's side. And I think that's the most exciting thing. We have to believe we can do this. We've got CONCACAF League of Nations coming. We're building our own professional league in the country. Everything's pointing towards, if we can be very deliberate in our planning and ensure that these outstanding men can pull that red shirt on and be very clear that we're going to do this, we can make this happen. And I think we've seen the signs in the Gold Cup. We've seen the signs in the home game against Jamaica. The landscape's ready. And you know, it's just getting behind this group. You know, we've got a lot of things going on, a lot of people with comments, and that's football. I get it. But we've got to get behind this now. And we've made some decisions, and we're going to push this forward. And it can be an exciting time if people choose for it to be an exciting time.
John, any concerns at all that the men's players will have difficulty accepting you as someone that's made a good career for himself in the women's game?
Look, I think you are going to have certain things you're going to need to adapt to. There's no doubt about that. I think male players are going to be thinking in their minds, what does this mean for me as a starting point? I've just worked hard to maybe establish myself in the team. We've just built something here. We're starting to move forward. You know, I think that would be one of their biggest concerns. You know, where do I now fit? You know, what's this guy's style of player? You know, what is he interested in? Do I fit in the plans? And, you know, I'll be working in the next, you know, month to start making those personal connects with players and just getting a sense of, you know, where things are at, what they have learned through the last experiences, you know, what is missing in this current culture. But I think generally, you know, I think we're making some assumptions as well on these wonderful players that they're going to, in this day and age, in 2018, are going to start looking at this as a gender issue. And, you know, I'm pretty, you know, at times when I've read some of this stuff, I'm saddened that, you know, you've come to a great country and you've heard some of the things that have been said, and you're like, in this day and age, the people are people. And it's hard to get your head around it. Now, that generation of players are going to be so far removed from culture and society that is very accepting in this country, that they're not going to see through that and go, this is the first international coach we've hired with a track record of winning. And looking into that, he's going to bring with him leadership, effective high-performance systems and structures, because you don't win without that, regardless of what environment you're in. And I'm sure they know that that sort of stuff transcends. People are people. And more importantly, the best coaches work with individuals. They don't even see gender. They don't even see status. They just work with individuals to get the best out of them. And I'm hoping the players will see that when we work together. And more importantly, James, like I'm sitting here knowing I've got gaps. Every coach has got gaps. Everyone that comes in to a new environment, you do your own gap analysis first. And it's really critical that I do surround myself with those people that can make the biggest difference in that environment. You know, I'm not naive to think I've got all the answers coming in. Hey guys, I'm new to this, but I'll tell you what, I work harder than most people. I'm as passionate about this game as anyone you're going to meet, and I've got 12 years experience in the international game, pulling players together in short windows. I've brought a number of experts in to help me, from people who've worked with the All Blacks, Arsenal football, the Mercedes F1 McLaren teams, to help guide me to understand how to get the best out of people. And I'm sure, you know, the players will see that. And they will see some of my gaps. They'll see some of my weaknesses, as they probably have with every other coach. But what I'll ensure is we have an open, honest relationship. And, you know, I'll be telling them what I think they need to work on, and absolutely they'll be telling me the same.
John, it's a brave new world. Good luck, and we'll talk soon.
Thanks, James. It's definitely a new world, and just excited to get on and get moving. So thanks for your time.
Thank you.